Okay, well, we're going to try to record. I'm hoping that this switches so that the text is not backwards for you, because that's going to be really challenging. But we are talking about stasis theory today. Okay, so these are the questions that we're going to address. What is stasis theory? How does it apply to the court of law? How can this be used in an essay writing? Then we're going to examine an issue. We're going to see what happens when you have no stasis in an argument. We're going to generate stasis questions for each student's thesis and generate stasis questions for your own. Okay? So, the stasis theory. I am actually going to just, let's see, was this the one? Okay. Aristotle says that there are really only 4 points that can be argued. Whether something happened, fact, whether it is harmful, harm or quality, whether it is important or significant, and whether it is just. So proving any one of these points takes demonstration. Aristotle's list is an early iteration of stasis. Stasis is Greek for a standing still. So, you know what, I'm going to use a different color because I like color. Oops. Okay. Or it could also be a stopping place. Can anyone think of any words that this sounds like stasis in the English language?
Static.
Status.
Good. No, it's okay. So you said one was stationary.
Stagnant.
Good. One was status.
Yeah, status and stagnant. Still.
So these words that we use are derived from the Greek word stasis, but the meaning is not quite the same. Stationary would be just standing still, right? That is being stationary. Status is actually closest to the real meaning of stasis, to the Greek meaning, than any of those. Stagnant also, when you grow stagnant, Rolling Stone, sit still long enough, it's no longer rolling, it grows moss, right? So it becomes stagnant. That is not what the Greek stasis is. Stasis is more like status. It is that point in a battlefield. If you have two armies on a field doing battle, it's the point where they meet, and one is not necessarily stronger than the other, and you really don't know how it's going to end. That's the stasis. It means a standing still, not standing still, okay? It's that point, the status of your argument. It is the point of your contention, okay? Point of conflict, absolutely. Words such as static and station are evidently related to stasis, but the Greek term does not have the same quiet or peaceful connotation as its English cousins. It may be helpful to think of two armies clashing when you see the term in the context of rhetoric. When those armies meet on a battlefield, there is a period of deadlock, of impasse, in which neither side has an obvious advantage. This is an experience of physical stasis. And it's easy to see its analogy in rhetoric, the place of conflict, where there is real disagreement and neither side has won the day, or has proven persuasive. It is the stasis point. So stasis theory is a way of moving quickly to that point, deciding where the real rhetorical battle needs to take place. And the list of questions shows that there is actually a limited number of battlefields. Suppose, for an example, a 6-year-old girl is accused by her brother of taking a brownie without asking. In an attempt to avoid punishment, she unwittingly runs through the stasis points in her head. Did I take it? That is fact. Okay, so it's the question of fact. Did it actually happen? Did I hurt anyone by taking it? So this is, they say harm in this book, but we called it quality. Is it harmful? And let's see. Is it really that big of a deal? Is it important? That's also a quality question, isn't it? If it's important or not. Well, I'll write it down here. And was I just in taking it? Justice. This can also be, I think in our book, it calls it policy. Thank you. What should be done. And what was this one called in our book?
That one.
Definition?
No.
Oh, definition. So importance is really quality,
Yeah,
right?
because
So we're gonna actually move that to definition, and then
fact, definition, quality, and then policy.
My computer crashed. We can't get to that one. Oh, wait, no,
okay. So as you see, from Aristotle to the Roman use, they've changed a bit, but they still have the same meaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the little girl may have valid rebuttals for each stasis point, but if she did take it, which is a fact, it made her brother cry, which was harmful, and it was the very last brownie, so it was important, then her case is not looking very good. Her argument then needs to be made based on the issue of justice. If she can make the case that she bought the brownies using her own allowance money, things are looking up. She may indeed be justified in consuming her own goods. And she has found the point of stasis, the point at which she could stop and make her argument. Okay, so that is our goal. In writing, the stasis theory can be used as invention, coming up with things to say in our argument, and it will help us to find the key to our argument. That is why we're doing this today, right? And hopefully we can all do this by now. So how does it apply? Originally, stasis theory was meant like in a court of law. So we're going to use your Monty Python sketch.
Okay.
That's going to be an example. So, what's the big question that they're trying to answer?
Is she a witch?
Or no, is she a witch? Is she a witch?
Aha!
'Cause they'll burn her if she's a witch.
Yeah.
Right, so, is she a witch? Okay, and is that going, which point of stasis does this apply to?
Definitions?
Okay, hang on. Fact. So this is the main point of contention. This is what they're trying to figure out.
Okay.
Now, they do have some other points. What did you say, Harrison? Should, original.
Should we burn her?
okay, so that's going to be yes.
And then definition of what is a witch? Or how do you know she's
Right.
Thanks, HP. Oh, there we go.
Okay, so is she a witch? That's the main point. And how do we prove that? We use some of the other stasis points.
We tried to figure out if she floats because witches are made of wood.
Does she float?
Does she float?
Fact.
So this is definition, right? Does she float? Wait, no.
Fact.
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 You're right. Okay. Where am I gonna? Okay.
Does she know what's
Float. Okay. What else? How else do they determine this?
Well, we have to figure out whether or not she's made of wood because witches are made of wood.
Aha.
Is she-
Because why? Wood floats.
Yes.
Exactly.
Right.
They don't
Okay.
understand the concept of density.
No way, of course they do. That's why churches float.
Oh, church.
Because they're holy, so they can't sink.
That's true. No,
Yeah.
things with holes in them sink. Unless it's like a sponge.
Now, obviously, you don't know the definition of holy versus holy.
So how are they going to find out if she's made of wood?
Does she weigh the same
Does
as
she
a
weigh the
duck?
same as a duck?
Because
Does
ducks
she-
float.
Because ducks float.
ducks float.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's impeccable.
Really need some oil or something.
What is the one question they don't bother to ask in that whole skit?
Quality.
Quality. What kind of witch is she? Is she a good witch or a bad witch? Does she use her powers to help people?
Does she
Well,
work
there's
with
the whole thing
devil?
about the newt.
Is she?
She did
It-
turn me into a newt.
Okay. So they're saying she's bad because she's the newt. How do you spell newt? N-E-W-T?
Yeah.
I go better.
Okay. So that's kind of a silly
Sherry's.
illustration of it, but you can see they went through the stasis points. In that whole skit, they moved through the stasis points to determine the main one, whether or not she was a witch. Okay? So, you can also think of it in a court of law. If you're trying to find out. So, Jack's been accused of, Jack's been accused of murdering his brother.
Sounds like me. No, that'd be Joe's accused of murder. Never mind.
So, but you're here. So,
Yeah.
Jack, so you're accused of murder. What are some questions that you need to ask?
Did it happen?
Yeah,
Did it happen?
did. I
Did it
Is
guess.
he dead?
Was it murder or manslaughter?
Or self-defense.
No, that's a good point.
Was it
Murder?
Is the brother dead? That's a good point.
See?
Dead.
No.
Is he dead?
Don't say. Just.
Okay.
Is it murder,
If he's
manslaughter,
dead-
or self-defense?
If he wait, we're not there yet. So if he's dead, the other fact question that we'd have to find out is,
Did Jack try to kill him?
Did he do it?
did he do it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's working. Make it close that.
Okay.
Did Jack do it?
Then we go to the question of, definition. What questions for definitions could you ask about what?
Manslaughter, murder, or self-defense?
What kind?
Knowing Joe, it was self-defense.
Was it justified?
What
That's
kind
quality. Or
Yeah, well,
of
that'd be quality.
murder?
Well,
Was
no, it's not what kind of murder. It's what kind
Well,
of killing.
self-defense is not murder.
Oh, yeah,
Because
you're right.
manslaughter is not murder.
No, you're
Neither
right.
is
You're right. Right.
self-defense.
You can't be executed for manslaughter.
Or self-defense.
What kind of killing?
Well,
Was it
Self-
homicide?
either way, it's all homicide.
Yeah,
No,
right.
It's murder, manslaughter, or self-defense.
And
Thank
then
you.
I
there's-
think self-defense counts as manslaughter.
Murder.
No, I don't think so. I
Because
think
manslaughter is
yes,
accidental,
yes, you're right.
not premeditated, and
Yeah.
not hate.
Yeah, so I think it falls in the category of
It falls
Accidental.
Except it's
We
Was
not-
have
it
accidental.
Oh, yeah,
guys.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
manslaughter.
Because
Oh.
if you hit someone with your car, it's
It's manslaughter.
it's unintentional or accidental.
Unless
manslaughter.
you very much purposely hit him with your
Then
car.
that would be murder.
Okay, so now we find out that
Yeah,
he is dead. Jack did kill him,
Jack.
and it was murder. Actually,
You owe me your money then.
I know, right? So
He's
then,
dead.
quality.
This
What are questions
escalated
of
quickly
quality
from
about
brownish.
murder?
Justified.
Mm-hmm.
Or no.
Or should he have done? Well, I guess you could also say like, is Jack a minor? Is Joe a minor? Because that determines the punishment. But I don't know if that's quality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
Okay.
I mean,
Was it harmful to the family?
Probably
Yes.
So, was it harmful to Joe?
Yes.
Yes, because he's dead.
you know what? I think that this goes up here with this, don't you?
I would say so.
More so than policy. I think
policy-
so.
Yeah, I think his policy is about
Policy is like what
Because
you
that,
do.
yes.
Like
quality.
punishment.
and
Quality
quality
and
includes
punishment.
justice, I think.
Okay, so quality, we're going to say justice here. Was he just in this murder? So,
Probably.
what had Joe done before to
Killed his
deserve that?
dog.
I mean, did he deserve it?
He killed my dog
And his goldfish.
and my goldfish.
Was he
And he killed my sister.
right there?
And he
Did
made
you
fun
hear
of
that?
Guapo.
Did you hear that?
Did.
So
So-
he did murder him, but he killed his sister.
The whole
So-
family's going down.
The whole dang family.
You
We
don't
are
go
really
against your
messed up,
family.
people. Messed up.
I mean, Joe was
So,
a mob boss.
But if we don't put Jack in prison, then he's gonna kill his parents.
Okay.
Stop it,
But
Elizabeth.
will Joe?
Wait. So what should be done, right?
Nothing.
Life in
I should.
prison without
Life in
parole.
prison.
I should go off scot-free because Joe deserved it.
No, and Joe was a mob boss
Joe is a mob boss in this situation.
Oh, good point.
because of his Shakespeare thing.
Yeah.
Mob boss. I had
Right.
Donnie, you went against the family, Donnie.
forgotten. It's
Good.
Tony.
Okay, so we've discussed how it could be done in a court of law, right? I'm gonna have to change colors because I'm pretty sure that on that screen the red is not gonna show up. Okay,
Hey, yo, Tony.
Yo,
so
Donnie.
let's look at an issue then.
The money?
I'm going to change this a little bit the way that I've written it now.
I'm a mob boss.
Oh,
Abby.
Hey, what's up?
My freaking mother.
Oh, so
By the way, we're recording
we're
for Emily.
recording. We're recording, but I can edit some things.
Just remove the audio on that one clip.
Yes.
Don't you mean lovely mother?
In policy over here.
Just
Okay, so let's talk about an issue. Let's talk about climate change. Climate change. We're going to talk about climate change. Okay. So, what kind of questions could you ask about climate change?
Does it happen?
Okay, perfect. And where does that go? Fall.
fact.
Is it a problem?
And then,
Oh, that's quality?
yeah, no, yes.
Yeah, definition
Yeah.
is what is climate change.
What is climate change?
And then, how does it affect the Earth would be quality.
Yeah, or is it bad?
Yeah, is it bad?
Is it human caused?
So, yeah, we're not answering in yes or no. It's every type of answer, not yes or no questions.
But
That was a very
is it human
weird
caused?
way to just say
or
is it yes or no
Yeah.
questions.
Aha!
Is it human caused?
This goes here.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think so.
It
Because
would be.
it defines what is
That's true.
climate change as we know it.
Yeah.
Or is it natural? That's another question to add.
How long do we have?
Okay, so this is going to
Quality.
quality.
I think
Like, is it bad? What's contributing to it?
How would it affect
Why
us?
is it happening? Policy is like,
How
should
can we
we do?
stop it?
how can we, yeah,
Or how can we reverse it?
how vegan do you need
Laws?
to be?
Should laws be
Vegan do we need?
should laws be passed?
I,
Oh,
yeah.
The
No, we
green-
should go meat eater
Should-
because cows create
New Green
methane.
Day
We
deal,
eat all the cows.
right?
Okay.
New
So
Green
wait,
Problem
cows,
solved.
cows.
Cows?
That goes to is it natural?
Yes.
Right? Is it natural?
Methane.
Is it all
Well, no, technically
is it all human caused or is it
No.
natural?
No, it's not all
cows,
human
the
cows.
amount of cows was determined by the human productions of beef.
That's true.
So it
We
is
need
human
to
caused.
stop producing cows.
Become vegan.
So here's another
We
quality
should
question.
eat all the cows
It's
originally.
effect, not eat.
And that's Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is against
Is
climate change because they eat cows.
it
It's true.
important?
So
Will
As-
Chick-fil-A save
Support
us?
Chick-fil-A.
and that's policy.
Eat more Chick-fil-A.
Eat more chicken.
Inequality in the top
Okay.
question, it should be effect, not effect.
It's
Mom.
effect.
Wait,
Yeah.
how do they spell chicken?
CHIKIN.
Yeah, okay.
I want Chick-fil-A now.
Chicken.
This is how you know
Well, you're
advertising
Come
works.
to the mall.
Eat more chicken.
I'll be there.
Okay. What did I do?
You spelled effect.
You work at the mall?
It's
It's
effect,
Hopefully.
not effect.
Friday at 3:30. You
Quality.
can find out then. Or 2 weeks after that.
I don't think I'd like working at the mall.
Okay, what are some others?
If it pays
Will it
then,
cause
but-
the end of the world?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Right?
Is
And
that
now that's
good?
gonna be
And if it's true, how do we
Quality.
counter it?
What's it gonna do?
Yeah. That's true.
How evil are we?
Eat more chickens.
Can chickens save us?
Wait, but don't chickens produce methane when they fart?
Not as much as
Probably
cows do.
much less. Like, have you
Like
ever?
a significantly less amount.
okay.
Also, chickens.
So we should kill and eat all of the cows,
Right.
and then just not
Okay,
make any more.
so guys,
Yeah.
which one of these points
Smart.
do you think? So one of the things with the stasis questions is you find a common ground to talk to your opposition about. So you have to figure out where is it that. So if they agree that it's real, okay, then you have to determine, okay, great, so we all agree that it's real, good. So is it human caused or is it natural?
That's the point of contention.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And quality as well.
Mm-hmm.
And quality, is it that important?
Also, does pollution
Right.
contribute?
Yeah, that's human caused.
That's human
Yeah.
caused.
Yes. Wait. Yeah.
So
Yes.
you may argue, your audience, you may have people, your audience may be that group that says it's not real at all, it doesn't happen. So what's your argument what things are you going to have to build into your argument to prove this?
Scientific data.
Scientific data.
Specifically, icebergs and records of. I can't remember how they do it, but they figured out that average temperature of
Yeah,
the
average
sea
global temperatures,
Mhm.
like over a 30-year period, are increasing.
over like a 500 year. I think like they have them back to
It's been
almost.
increasing, and it's
Yeah.
like steeply increased recently.
Mm-hmm.
Here's something, I think it's a,
Conspiracy.
Oh.
It's all the birds are in it.
Yes.
Right?
The birds work for the bourgeoisie.
so it's really a
Like birds.
conspiracy that for the government to give more, get more money and for dumb
Yeah.
projects.
I mean, they're not wrong.
But okay, so but even if you decide that with your audience, your main point is of stasis is within the definition. Whether it's human caused or natural, you still have to start with facts, right?
Mm-hmm.
But most of your argument is going to be based here. Okay? Questions? Comments? Anything else you want me to write down?
So the point of contention can be any of fact, definition, quality, or policy, but we always have to have fact.
No, it could be any of them.
Or no, I mean like.
No, but you have to include facts.
Yeah,
else you
so
don't
I
know
guess
anything about
that's
it.
what I'm.
And maybe we talked about this, Jen, but it depends on your audience, right?
Yeah.
If you can agree, if everyone can agree, global temperature. So maybe I'm just going to play an advocate again. So
Racist and a liberal.
yeah, exactly. No, so you're saying global
My mother.
temperatures are up. Okay, we can agree on that. We're saying that yes, it's human caused. Just say we agree with that, and then we feel like it's important. But then the issue that we might have is what policies develop. So you almost have to figure out what your audience is because your audience may be in different places.
And that's the 4 hour.
The liberals.
Oh, that. Oh.
So your
That's me
audience
now.
is
Oh!
I was like, wait.
Yay!
So call to action.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And definition and equality are like the
Yeah.
argument, and then fact is the
The compromise.
stuff.
So
Like,
definition.
I don't agree that the death penalty exists. It's kind of.
I don't know.
Okay,
Does it really?
No, it doesn't.
Does it really, Elizabeth?
so just make sure that you realize definition goes more than defining your terms.
Mm-hmm.
I think when we think of definition, we're like, oh, well, I'm going to define death penalty, or I'm going to define electric chair, or whatever it is, right? You're not just defining your terms. In this, under definition, notice we have, is it human caused or is it natural? Is it just a conspiracy of the government? I mean, yeah, right?
Yeah, and I think the example he gave was if you killed somebody, I can't remember exactly what the setting was, but if you killed somebody that killed your child, or they're in the process of it or something, is that murder or is that self-defense? You're like defining.
We discussed how Jack killed Joe.
And then
Yeah,
Joe
and
and
what?
Allison.
So that's the
And his
definition
dog and
thing,
his
right?
goldfish.
But
Yeah.
Jack was gonna kill his parents if he didn't go to jail. So
Mm.
there's something about it.
True.
Okay.
So yeah,
Because
there's.
different
All
cultures have
work,
different
no
beliefs
play.
about
But-
what things are.
Jack
But
and
you
Joe
guys, as you're coming up with invention, the next thing that you're going to do is write your narratio, your statements of facts, right? So in your narratio, you're going to have to address each one of these.
It's like a
Okay.
40-hour.
So, but in your narratio, remember, it's going to be a roadmap. That's the part of your essay that you tell them what you're going to say. So you give your audience a little preview and tell them what you're going to say. And then in your argument, you're going to pick the one that is your point of stasis. And you're going to develop that more than any of the rest of them. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, let's look at, oops, darn it, I didn't want to erase fact.
No, fact.
No, fact went away.
We don't know anything.
I never did.
Okay.
Do you guys see how effective this is? Like, if you really can do this well, how
Mhm.
effective
Yeah.
this is?
Also,
It doesn't
Do
just
this for,
apply
like,
to the
apologetics.
40 hours.
yeah.
This would be so useful.
And how,
apologetics.
or like in a sermon, how
Oh yeah.
that'd be
That
really
would
fun
be
to like
cool.
to try in a sermon.
In a sermon, absolutely. Apologetics, for sure. Even a college essay that you're writing, okay? It even applies to that, if you can do this well. It applies to, it could apply to your literary analysis essays. Everything that you write. And of course, essays of argument. Of course, that's what it's designed for. Okay, the next one we're going to discuss a little bit abortion. Now,
That was.
where is my little piece of paper?
This one's a lot on definition.
A
Is it
lot of
real?
definition.
Mm-hmm.
Easy.
Yes.
Okay,
It is real.
let's see.
Sure?
It's not real.
Yeah, I'm not sure about
It
that.
doesn't happen.
We have the pro-life
It's a conspiracy by the government.
people, and the pro-life people believes the government. I went on a website to get these
Ooh, don't do that.
definitions. Okay, pro-life believes the government has an obligation to preserve all human life, regardless of intent, viability, or quality of life concerns.
I need this definition. This is so useful.
Oh.
It's
Yes. Because then they're breaking their fundamental
Yeah.
code by killing people. Exposing the government, part 1. Part
5-part
2.
series.
Part 2 is global warming. Exposing them.
I have never really heard that argument, but that is a really good one. That is what the government's supposed to do.
And if they're encouraging it, America's falling down.
Well, America was starting
Like purple.
going down.
This is a
I'm
great
just thinking of like
definition.
how the pro-choice people figured out what their name was going to be. Okay, so these people are pro-life. Let's be anti-life. Wait, no, that's not good.
Hold on, hold
Yeah,
on.
so-
We're gonna get
Well,
there.
most pro-life people are for the death penalty, so they're not totally pro-life.
No, yeah.
Oh
And
yeah.
they're against like
But phrasing works.
lots of other things
Mhm.
that are pro-life, but
Well, they're not just like pro.
I mean, people on death row aren't as
pro-life.
cute as babies, so we should just
That's
kill them.
because there's one argument by some pro-choice people, saying that if the pro-life people, they're all here being like, save the children, save the babies, but then in the at the holding cells at the border, the children are being allegedly being treated very
yeah,
poorly.
pro-life.
That no one's doing anything about it.
Okay.
But that's,
No pro-life.
Yeah, that's not really.
But
Well,
you're gonna
That's like too close.
Okay, so guys, let's look at the pro-choice definition that I found. Pro-choice believes individuals have unlimited autonomy with respect to their reproductive systems as long as they don't breach the autonomy of others.
These definitions seem fairly like unbiased, which is impressive.
Thanks. I thought so.
Like, these are good.
Yeah, but if they're afraid of like harming the autonomy of others, that baby is an other. Oh well,
not
unless we're
really.
talking about definition, because then when does baby have a heartbeat?
What is a baby?
Well, it's
What
when
is
his
a baby?
life start.
Once you get to
Yeah.
definition, it gets
Guys
to-
are getting ahead of me.
Sorry.
do you guys see how magical this is?
Yeah.
It's like this using this process will help all of us define things and come out with better thoughts and better arguments and
Well,
like,
also it's source our questions, which makes it a lot easier
Yeah.
to actually format them because we have like a bunch of like random questions that we want to add.
I need to do
We can
this.
categorize them.
Yeah, because I still haven't decided whether or not to talk about the practical reasons. Like, I could just go totally moral, and I think it might be more effective. I really don't know. Because you can use pathos and practical reasons.
Maybe
Mhm.
just add a
You should certainly use some of them, but I don't know if that should be your main focus because
it
then
can't be
it's gonna
because
be.
then it's just based utilitarian.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be
So-
utilitarian.
Mhm.
I think you might need to have a bit of fact because we're getting more practical reasons. So I think Miss Parrish might
Yeah, I know
change it
Miss.
tactical and be like,
Yeah, because my mom was talking to her about it. Miss Parrish said, like, improperly administered justice is still justice.
Okay, guys.
So-
So let's go back to this, okay?
it's like very subjective for shit.
So, what is this argument? What's the main argument here? Believes the government has an obligation to preserve all human life regardless of intent, viability, or quality of life. What are they talking about?
All life is valuable.
And
Okay.
then the fetus is a life.
Yes, and they are presupposing that life begins at conception. What is life?
I mean, I do have to find
It's a question of
that.
definition.
Okay. What is this? Believes individuals have unlimited autonomy with respect to their reproductive systems. What is that?
Free will?
Mm,
Well, it's
This is a
It's feminism.
It's
Choice
that
is valuable?
babies don't matter.
No,
Or no,
that's not what the definition says.
actually.
yeah, that's a very fallacious statement, but
Yeah.
What do you mean? Babies don't
Human
matter.
rights. Yeah. Well, both of them are human rights. They're just addressing them in different ways.
yeah.
Okay.
Because there's the right to life, and then there's the right to freedom of
Choice.
choice.
Okay.
Which are both
Choice.
Very important.
Yeah.
It's just
Life. Okay, perfect. So this is where we have these guys arguing for choice,
And these guys,
arguing for life.
the choice to live or the choice to
Okay. Do you see the problem with why nobody can come up with with a
because
solution for
deciding Who
abortion?
can live and who can not live.
Are they arguing the same thing?
No.
Not at all, right?
There's no clear point of contention.
Exactly. If they
It's
are
just one side
in
going over
different
here,
battlefields,
It's just
Like,
people
over
yelling
here.
at each other. You're wrong.
they're just yelling
You're wrong.
over each other. You're absolutely right. They're just arguing over each other because they are not playing on the same field.
And if they do,
They're never going to meet
Mm-hmm.
because we're talking about choice and we're talking about life. Right? So you're not going to find a stasis point here.
That's why debates are typically one-sided.
The issue with the
There's
this
no
though.
other side.
Oh, so
Well, no,
so
there is another side, but not on the issue that you're
So-
fighting.
But wouldn't the point of stasis be what life is? I mean, at some point you.
No, I think because I was talking to this person about
okay,
this,
yes,
I
but
think-
no, because they're saying choice.
Yeah,
If they're arguing that choice is king, who cares what life
because
is?
it's no longer about life. It's no longer about debating what is life. It's
This
more
is
about what is choice.
Okay,
This
well,
is
you
no
could
pitch
de-
make
but
me
you
look
could
insane.
debate choice. You
So-
could say how far does your choice?
Yeah.
You could come
I
to a
would
point
say
on
this.
choice in life.
I
Choice
would
is no
say
pitch,
this
makes me look a little
could
bit
be,
insane.
if we talked about human rights,
Then
then we could maybe come up with a point of stasis.
which would be what?
What's more
does
important?
The fetus have rights?
What's more important, the mother's rights or the child's rights?
Yeah.
Well, you could talk about choice. How far does your choice go? Does your choice-
But it doesn't matter. Choice doesn't matter. In this
I
discussion,
know, but you could go on that way and debate and get to a point right there, right? And then on that side, you could debate whether life is.
So when does life begin?
but you have to find a common ground, a common thing to talk about in order to have a viable argument. Because if you don't have a common ground, you can't find a stasis point. And if you don't have a stasis point, you have no argument.
I thought this stays. So I thought it was like when you get to a point where you can either go this way or that way.
You know, it's a point of conflict.
Yeah,
I
point
think-
of conflict.
Like Mrs. First earlier, it's like it's a point where two armies meet. That would be stasis, where it's two opposing sides clashing.
And you're either on this one or that one wins.
Yeah.
But it's a,
Who wins? Am I stronger enough to? Are my arguments strong enough to push you over to my side,
Right.
kill them
or are
all.
your arguments strong enough to push me over here?
It's a tug of war.
Is
I
it
think about-
genocide?
Have you guys
So
ever seen
possible
sumo
genocide?
wrestlers
Yeah.
wrestle?
No. I think, yeah.
So
But sure.
when we were in Japan, I saw them on TV, and that's what I think about when I think of stasis. Like just these giant dudes in diapers and little, So, okay. The point is, it's important to find your common ground with your audience. Why is your issue important to your audience in order to have stasis at all?
Mm.
So, with that said, goodbye. Okay. So, we're going to generate stasis questions for each of the students'
I need
thesis.
to do this so bad.
What I would like you to do, on a piece of paper, you can use one piece of paper for everybody, but leave room so that you can cut it and hand it to the person's arguments that you're writing these questions for, okay?
Oh, it actually. Wait. No, I have.
Oh, so we're writing the fact that we should follow the policy.
I take it back. I do need
in our
paper.
thesis.
So,
Well, don't we need one for
Thank
each
you.
student?
yeah, that would be better.
Yeah, okay.
But
I've
you
got
can,
paper.
One piece of paper for each student.
it would be better if it was one piece of paper for each student, but if you want to, you can use one.
Fold
and
it and cut it up and sticky
Uh-huh.
notes. Why don't we just make them small?
Here, actually, here. Let me
Wait a
see.
moment.
Oh,
I think she has sticky notes.
I'm so happy I had this in my phone.
Intelligence. Here.
I love sticky notes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Glad
What
I had
if-
some
what
more
if I just
giant
draw sticky notes,
stickies.
stick them to my wall?
okay.
I don't know where my other giant sticky notes are, but
Write
Somewhere.
notes and hide them.
Here, grab 7 and pass
Okay.
it on. Or 6.
Okay. So, Jack, what is your thesis?
Right now it's the ADHD, because music is getting shorter, it's contributing to the rise in ADHD.
I don't know what you-
Or the fact that music is getting shorter is contributing to the rise in ADHD. And right now, I think that I have,
Okay.
um,
Hang on. Don't say anything more yet,
Okay.
please. Okay. Can you do the same thing? Troy, can you tell me what yours is?
The government plays too much of an economic role in its citizens' lives.
that's cool.
Okay.
Is
Harrison.
that standardized testing dehumanizes children?
Oh, wow.
It's a bit extreme, but I do have to do the course. So cute.
Okay.
As pro-life Christians, we should not support the death penalty.
Yeah, usually.
Mine is social media is correlated to the rise in depression and suicide in Gen Z.
Early American art changes the way one perceives modern American history.
Nice.
Jack, what's your thesis again?
The fact that songs are getting shorter is contributing to the uprise in ADD in adolescents.
Music shorter equals up ADHD.
Yeah.
And what is Emily's?
I don't know.
Okay, so it has to do with like basically Latin and the importance of studying Latin.
But Latin still contributes to society today.
Okay.
I think that's. That might be hers.
Okay.
She told me to do that wrong.
I know she would come up with something more brilliant than that, but roughly.
Something of the sort.
Study of Latin. Oh, she's going to say something about brain development. Still contributes to...
Can I have another sticky note?
That's smarter than what I did. I'm like,
Okay. So, I would like you to take some time. You don't necessarily have to give them, and it doesn't, I just want you to come up with 4 questions for each person's idea. If they are all, and then we're going to kind of talk about them and categorize them. But if you can, try to come up with a fact, definition, quality, and policy question for each. But if you can't, just come up with 4 questions. Because if we find out that there are more questions of definition than the others, that would probably help the person, realize that that's probably my point of stasis. Okay? So we will go through each one individually. If we have time. I'm hoping we have time. But that's why we're writing them all down. I'm going to pause.